I'm very excited to be joined today by Brazilian filmmaker and visual artist Gabriel Mascaro, who is from Recife, where he is right now in Brazil. His work blends lyrical realism and political imagination in films like August Winds, Neon Bull, and Divine Love. Ted and I have seen Divine Love, and it's wonderful. His new feature, which is in theaters right now across the United States, is The Blue Trail. It's a dystopian fable about an elderly woman's fight for the right to dream, and it premiered in competition at the 75th Berlinale, where it won the Silver Bear Grand Jury Prize. Gabrielle, so nice to see you.
So nice to talk to you, Vanessa. Thank you for your kind introduction, and I'll be very happy and excited to listen from you about
Oh,
movie.
good. Yes. No, Ted and I loved it so much, and we've talked a lot about it. And you've done something miraculous, which is one of those 5 minutes into the future fables, sci-fi. And your film, The Blue Trail, centers on Teresa, who's a 77-year-old woman who refuses the kind of social euthanasia of being sent away to a senior colony. And I wonder what the first image or thought or feeling was for you that made you realize this had to be your next film.
Yeah, it's quite curious because this topic movie actually came from a very utopic moment in my life. When my grandfather passed away, my grandmother started painting, and it was quite inspiring to see her rediscovering her life at that moment in the late 80s. And it really marked me the way someone that age can be able to reimagine their life. And at some point, I was quite curious to investigate that as a character. And then I started researching movies about elderly protagonists. And I realized that there's only a few movies that are about elderly protagonists. And in general, the conflicts are about death. They have some kind of like terminal illness, or the other side, they are about nostalgia, about past, about something that has gone, about this glorious time that doesn't come back anymore, of the youth. So it was quite unique for me to be able to develop a movie about an elderly woman protagonist in the present, dealing with new experiences for her life at the moment she was facing the journey in the movie.
And it's true. You've spoken about the right to dream. You really allow this character to not only have big dreams, but follow them. It's amazing. You've described the movie as a kind of dystopia without gadgets. You have policy and culture, not technology, creating the nightmare. And it's a little similar to what you did with Divine Love. And in each film, you built this near future world, this 5 minutes into the future world. So it feels slightly unreal, but also recognizable. How did you face those challenges? What was your process?
Yes, for this movie, it was quite challenging and took me almost like 10 years developing the concept and to find the precise tone for the movie. Because at some point of my research, I understood that the genres in cinema that deals with characters experiencing life are associated to the to young adults. And if the right to experience life was not allowed for elderly people in the tradition of cinema, and also why not we can see elderly people rebelling against the system, why dystopias are reserved for youngs. And at some point I became quite curious to like to reflect about this, how genre tradition can be like very important tools for creation, but can be very danger in terms of how we reproduce society values. So I deliberately tried to play with these different genres to make this work together as an allegory of an elderly woman that will fight to be part of these genres, to be allowed to be protagonists of these genres. And that's why the movie blends like dystopia with coming of age, with this road movie, and all these elements that we do not imagine an elderly woman to be be protagonist of their self-discovery.
So good. And, we were speaking before we began the interview. So Recife is where you are and where Kleber Mendonça Filho, who directed The Secret Agent, lives too. But this film is taking place in the Amazon and a lot on the river. And there's this whole river culture that was new to me and Ted. We need to visit you, clearly. We need to visit you in Brazil. But it's not this simple postcard paradise, but the landscape is really a complex character in your storytelling. It's magical, there's an industrial side, it's deeply political. And I wonder what your choices were in choosing the contradictions, the locations, the without exoticizing the region.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, when I finished my schools, the university, one of my first jobs was to be teaching Indian communities to become filmmakers and sharing my experience. And then it was so great to be back to that same environment and develop this screenplay and this film. Actually, the Amazon is so beautiful that can be quite dangerous to be fascinated by the environment, and we did a, a really challenging choice. It was like to make it short, aspect ratio instead of this landscape cinemascope format. We came to this more further the classical portrait aspect ratio, where instead of being seduced by the beauty of the Amazon, I was really trying to be close to the wrinkles of this the protagonist, this old lady woman that will share the marks of her life and will inspire us to go into this journey of rediscovery and yes, to learn with her. And yes, for me it was quite inspiring also to be connected with this the magical element that we can find in fauna and flora. As a dystopic movie, we have this amazing element in our movie called the blue draw snail. There's some kind of like super powerful element able to, if you drop a blue draw snail in your eyes, you can see different things, can see the future. That you have power to find a utopia inside of your imagination.
It's so brilliant. You really actually I was wondering, is it true? Is there such a thing as a snail with a blue trail that you can drop the liquid into your eye and then the eye goes a little blue and you see visions like any ayahuasca trip or something? It's so well done. And it's so incredible really to watch Teresa's journey as she's traveling on the boat and meeting new people, and it's an adventure and it's part escape, and I wonder how you planned her moments of transformation.
Yes, when I start develop this character, it was very important to me to avoid being that woman that had a lot of experience in life before. Like that, it's not an elderly woman that had the Woodstock reference in her memories. You know, it was someone that totally like far from this how we would project this like progressive woman. Well, no, in the movie she started very conservative pro regime, and she worked in a very like a small town in the coast of Amazon, in the middle of nowhere, and at some point she realized that she'll be forced to stop her experience of life and be taken from a colony. And that's the moment where she reacts and try to do her last desire. And this is a movie about the woman that want to fly, but for me it was more important to understand that the character learned to fly even higher than she imagined be able to. And that's her big discovery.
It's beautiful to see a 70-year-old in a movie like this, let alone one who is so rebellious. I think you also do a wonderful job of the near future having these dystopian political elements that feel close to any authoritarian regime, really. I wonder when you were filming and bringing all the elements together of story and, location, character, her performance, your cinematography. Were there happy accidents or was it very planned?
Think we had a few uh, accident that was very, I'd say, surprising as a road movie. I think uh, the best way to control the journey is to be able to be surprised, because the road movie somehow has this kind of like discovery, fresh discovery that surprehend you. And yes, for us it was quite magical to when we start the rehearsal, and we received the amazing actress from Cuba, from Havana, Miriam Socarrats, that she played the character Roberta with Teresa, and it was quite magical encounter, and it was so beautiful to see that two old ladies together, like they were like acting a movie about this freedom, but actually to see that two old late women in that most special moment of their career together, like doing a very special character, was such beautiful to see, because it was like a double freedom, to be able to not go into this easy direction that sometimes like storytelling address for elderly people, actors. It's funny because when we talk to them, we listen a lot from them. That it's crazy, because at some point in your life, when you're older and when you achieve the most experience of your career, the character starts to be very boring. There's no, no conflict. There is no achievement. And yes, it was so happy to be able to develop this idea of these two amazing actresses that was in the most astonishing moment of their career, and be able to incorporate that. It was such a gift for me as well.
Yes. And for us as audience members, you're so right. It feels so original and, you've discovered a space that we haven't seen enough of, and that relationship between the 2 women at the end is magical. You also have this excellent character, the actor Rodrigo Santoro's character, Kadu,
Kaduya.
who's yeah, by boat, and, he's not your typical, male traveler on a boat. I wonder where you came up with him and what it was like to collaborate with that actor.
Yes, actually, when Rodrigo Santoro watched my previous movie called Neon Bull, um, he he was very happy to see a different kind of like masculinity on screen, and I think he was really excited to do something in that direction as well. Because at some point, I think Rodrigo Santoro is a very handsome and talented guy. Sometimes the character can be similar, and for him it was so special to be able to do something like different. And I remember he mentioned to me, "Guy, if you have something like intriguing and let me know, that I'll be happy to collaborate with your cinema." And he also is very like supporting indies, independent cinema in Brazil. Even he works like in big movies, but he's still very passionate about cooperation with independent cinemas. And yes, at some point I had this screenplay, share with him, and say, "Oh, come on, let's go." And he was so excited to be able to do that. And he was really amazing, because the way he incorporate the blue draws nail like trip is so bodily experience, and is and so intense,
Yeah.
and such a creative job, because it's not a trip that you recognize, not a ayahuasca that you can
Yeah.
have and you can reproduce, or it's not like a drunk of alcohol, because you can try and reproduce and emulate that. It's not with the blue draws nail. It doesn't exist. I'm so sorry to say to your
I
listeners.
know.
But but it was quite special to be able to create that effect, and the
Yeah.
actors and actresses was so amazing to emulate that feeling.
Yeah. It's such a brilliant idea, and it's also so cool the way you introduce it as the snail finds you. you can't just go searching for the snail, and so when he finds the snail, it's really wild. You've spoken a little about your cinematography in terms of filming the Amazon, but I wonder if you had special rules for yourself and your cinematographer in this being a near future dystopian sci-fi fantasy film? Was there more in terms of the framing or approach to color and movement that you wanted to achieve?
Yes, for us it was important to create some kind of like slight displacement from reality, where you can feel something like suspended. So instead of thinking about future or past or present, we prefer to think about how can we like create displacements of reality, and that's why the color grading somehow plays a little bit in more like fantastical notions than realistic look. And but we blended I feel like a standstill moment of the camera when the character was at some point like confined by had no desires yet. When she start the trip, start to be able to discover new things in the trip, we go to the handheld camera, so we can feel the same like feeling of discovery that the character is facing. And yes, we watched a great movie at some point of the pre-production, Paradise Love, from the Austrian director Ulrich Seid. And this film has a great camera concept as well, so it was quite inspiring for us. Yes, and for the screenplay also, I had different reference. As I said, it was so challenging for me to find the tone, to find the right way to approach this elderly woman. Uh, and yes, I was investigate movies like Tokyo Story by Ozu, where there is a couple of elderly people in contemporary Japan, contemporary Tokyo. I investigate in movies like Soylent Green, or but also movies like Before Sunrise, Richard Linklater, that and Thelma Louise, for example. So it was quite like fun and make like Thelma Louise meets Soylent Green together in the same screen. Quite
I love
impossible,
it.
but
Yeah,
it was
you
a
did it.
challenge.
It is, you've met the challenge. No, you can feel all of that, and it's so, so original. I wonder also how you thought about sound design on the river, because you have such a mix of, the engines of the boats and the water and the animals and industrial noises, and how did you think about your sound design?
Yes. Initially, we had some like technical issues. Curiously, when you are shooting the river, you can hear like 5 kilometers away if someone's listening to music. So you can't control. So it was quite challenging in terms of like how we could preserve the sound environment to make the movie works. Some situation we had to dub really to ADR, and but also it gave me a great I'd say capacity to develop a sound concept strong, because as the ADR gave this first ground feeling of in the screen, I start investigating first ground sounds everywhere, like in the boat, in the river, in the water. You know, this and the drop of the so the sound effect became something like very bodily, and that was at some point our concept. Let's feel this movie very bodily sound, where everything is strong and you can feel really close to you.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting because it breaks some kind of like documentary and reality like aesthetic, as a movie that somehow has a grounded sci-fi, but we try to like suspend it a little bit far from real, so we can have this feeling of fabula or dystopia or these John's codes.
You did it. And, It was the bodily in your mind when you were working with your composer on the score? How did you figure out the sound of the score?
Yes, the soundtrack for me was one of the most exciting moments of the editing. This guy is amazing. Actually, Memo Guerra is work on this in his first movie, and I was really looking for someone that had this, I would say, arty craft home studio, like small, team to develop like small elements of sounds that becomes like strong, like puck, puck, like you can feel like, but you do not recognize the source of the sound. So the whole music, you have some difficult to identify. Oh, it's like guitar. No, it's you don't recognize the sound, the source of the sound. And also, we were curious to investigate this circus palette. So the winds, a little bit more picaro, picaresco, picaresque ideas, and makes little bit fun. So it's a playful movie that mix dystopia and coming of age. So there is somehow some kind of like uh, displacement to say, okay, that's dystopia, but don't take it too seriously. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be like playful, and the movie starts with the character protagonist like dancing to the camera. It's almost like a gesture of the movie makes to the audience to say, come on, hold your hands and let's dance together.
It's true. You have a hypnotic, mesmerizing way into the film that works really well when the opening credits are coming. It just sort of feels dreamlike and pulls you into Teresa's world. It's so interesting that you came up. I'm curious a little bit more about this snail idea with the psychedelic properties and where in the world you came up with this idea.
That's true. Actually, for me, I had always in my mind an alternate synopsis that will be, it's a movie, it's a story about a snail that tried to save an elderly woman. She refused, but at the same point, she accepts to be saved by this magical, powerful creature. Actually, the snail for me represents something like slow in its movement, but infinite in its possibilities. Um, as a dystopic movie, for me, it was somehow important to keep the utopic element alive. And coming from the fauna of Amazon, it was beautiful for me.
It's beautiful. That is so deep. The film, as you've said, is both playful and lyrical. And it's so funny to use the term coming of age for a character who's 77, but that is really what it is. And yet you do have the concrete reality of, removing elderly people from public life, a kind of forced displacement, different development in the Amazon. So how did you balance the kind of real political undercurrents with this desire to have an intimate character-driven story?
Yes. What's curious for me, it was like we are facing in our society lots of uh, people facing forced displacement everywhere for different reasons, climate crisis, wars, geopolitics, and we are losing somehow the empathy for the otherness, for the others people. And I try to recuperate this kind of like empathy for reflecting the same forced displacement, but from some character that she just became older. So at that moment, we can feel that the forced displacement can be, everyone can be affected by that. Not only people that are facing some kind of like war conflict that at some point, or some people lost empathy for that group of people, for that minority, but in this movie I try to bring back some like ideas that forced displacement, everyone can be forced to face that. And intriguingly, that's the blue trail comments about something that's really part of our society. Everyone's going to be old at some point, or everyone knows someone that's already old. And it really taught us from different point of views. It's a movie that it's very like there is like humor, there is this lyrical, but it's very serious as well because address us and confront us with violence that we reproduce as society. And one of the most violent movies doesn't come from a dystopian classical way that we imagine like armed guns, police. No, it comes when the employee for the government asks to you to put your uh, diapers and then force you to check if your diapers was put properly with a torch, with a light to check, can I see your diapers? And yes, it's a way to think different kind of violence, different spectrum of violence in our society.
Yeah. Such a brilliant answer. I think that the film is so layered and deep and complex in all of these ideas and themes it raises through this very moving, as you've said, humorous, often playful character study. Do you feel satisfied with all that the film is receiving in terms of responses from audiences? Are they inspired? Do you feel we'll now have more films with older people whose wisdom from age is valued and who can show us maybe a better way to live and be in the world?
Yes, for me it was quite special. The Berlin Film Festival was a brilliant moment for us to premiere, and different of other film festival that sometimes is set in a more like touristical venue. The Berlin Film Festival really happens in the core of a big metropolitan city like Berlin, and we had 2,000 people in the audience. It was a massive, and it was so special to see the movie that is very singular, set in a very specific part of Brazil, but really connects with different cultural. And the movie has been like released in more than 60 countries after that, and it's so special to be able to see sometimes the audience, a lot of retired people watching the movie and connecting with this character that point to a new kind of direction about how to experience life and how to desire. And also sometimes it's so special to see young audience that can for the first time be able to feel inspiration about freedom, but from a character that is not young, is someone older, someone that's really achieving to take risks and to experiencing uh, new way of life, experiencing new emotions. Uh, yeah, so it was very inspiring to see different kind of reactions in different countries, different backgrounds.
It is such an inspiring film. I'm so thrilled to hear it's being received so well, and I hope everyone in the United States runs to their movie theater and sees your film on the big screen now. It's beautiful, it's deep and complex, it's brilliant. Thank you so much for taking the time to
Thank
talk
you.
today.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. Very kind from you. And yes, thank you very much.
Pleasure. Yeah.